Hello and welcome, Amplify You family. I'm your host, Michelle Abraham, and I am bringing you an amazing behind the mic interview today. I'm super excited because not only is this a podcast host, she is also, she's just one of those amazing people that's going to talk to you and give you so much expert advice as well as the behind the scenes on her podcast as well. This is Lisa Cherney, and she's been advising millionaire entrepreneurs for over 20 years. She's the host of the groundbreaking confession-based podcast, Get Effin' Real podcast. Now, we can swear on my show, so it's okay. I love the branding. I love the name GFR, which just means get fucking real. And in 2014, after 15 years in business, Lisa got effing real and dismantled her successful 7-figure business. And now she helps soulful entrepreneurs, GFR, so they can get out of their own way, help more people, make more money, make a huger impact in the world. And so, Lisa, I'm so excited to have you on the show today. I'm just excited to talk about your show and talk about all the things that are really holding people back from getting GFR. So let's dive in. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a big Michelle fan, so I'm happy to talk about my podcast experience and just my experience in helping other people, that I mentor and their podcasts. And so learning a lot along the way.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa. And, we have similar kind of client background. Like we have clients that are like totally woo-woo, and we have clients that are totally business. And I love that we share that kind of commonality in our clients too. So I feel like we kind of speak the same language. And I just want to first of all say, I love the GFR branding, and to have the ability to put that out there in the world. What was that like? Were you a little bit nervous putting that out as like GFR, because there is a swear word in it, and it is a little bit like, woohoo, not sure if that's going to fly, or how is iTunes going to approve my podcast? Was that over a question in your mind?
Absolutely. And the question started, I talk about GFR commandment number 3 is don't worry about being normal, proper, or polite. Mm-hmm. And that commandment I love because it applies to marketing, which is my origin story, is consciousmarketing.com. So I've been helping entrepreneurs for 20 years, be real in their marketing and be themselves and come at it from the inside out. And so here I am now, 18 years later, really birthing a new mission. And what came to me, what felt fun was I was helping entrepreneurs get real, but even just saying get real doesn't sound as potent as with the F in the middle, with the F word, it was so fun for me. And, I'm from Jersey, so my husband says, that's my Jersey, I sprinkle a bit of Jersey there, but it does create urgency. It's a very potent word. It's activating. It was very intentional. And so, yes, first it felt really good. But then when I started sharing about what I was going to do and I started talking to experts, podcasting experts and all that, I was like, I definitely got a lot of pushback, people just saying, first of all, being cautious about turning people off that you're trying to help. And then, really having to figure out what the regulations were. And then I haven't talked about this much, but this is a great show to talk about it on. We got shut down for 3 weeks on Apple podcasts. And so I could share more about that, but It also became kind of like a part of my PR that just made it more provocative.
Yeah, that's awesome. We work with shows right now that sometimes there was one particular show right now that I'm kind of feeling that way with the show topic and the show title. And I'm like, ooh, I wonder if this is going to get approved or not. And so when you say Apple shut you down for 3 weeks, what was that, because of the title or because of the profanity in it, or what was that all about?
So we actually don't totally 100% know to this day because they're not the most communicative. No. So we got the show approved and we were running for, I think, 2 months, no problem. Mm-hmm. We have it's get F star 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 ing, and I have fun now saying star star star. And so that was fine. And then we have the explicit rating. And so we can use, profanity on the show. And even in the show notes, I believe. Mm-hmm. But what was happening was that we did an episode, and it was called From Undercover Prostitute to Something. all my episodes start with the struggle and sort of like the before and then go to something. And it was that on that episode, when we put that episode out, that they shut us down. And so we assumed that it was the prostitute word in the title because maybe they thought it was, something having to do with sex worker or something like that. And so we changed it we changed it like twice. We put it up and then nothing happened. We didn't get reinstated. And it was right when they were changing from the Apple iTunes to Apple Podcasts. So I think we also got caught administratively. But honestly, Michelle, we to this day, we suspect that there was some things that were going through the way that we were uploading our notes, that there was some content that wasn't okay, that was sort of getting through to their whatever they used to sort of scan, that we weren't aware of. But it just took us a long time to get in touch with them. And we're like, hey, and remedy the situation. I mean, email after email after email. And finally we had to like get a secret email address. And it was more of an emotional roller coaster than anything. Like it was a huge like soul searching thing for me, right? Because do I change it? Do I bag it? Do I, but I'm glad we hung in there. And here's the most important thing for me and all the people that I ever mentor or in my world is like, you have to feel congruent with what you're putting out there. It has to feel you. I talk about being unapologetic. And if you know that, if you just know in your bones, like this is me, then you just know, like persevere. And you don't second guess as much.
Yeah.
You're more committed to that. So that's where I wound. That's where I landed. I'm glad I didn't waver.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, you seem like this Spitfire's got bright colors, amazing hair, and, just this brand that like is totally you, right? And it just like seems like an alignment with you exactly. And I love that. I think, how do you get to that point in a brand? You mentioned your commandments that you have, which we're going to share about in a few minutes, where everyone else can take a look at what the 10 commandments are to GFR, your brand as well. And what are some of the things that you, that helped you get that clarity around what you wanted to come out in the world in branding wise?
Yeah. I want to address the word branding. I think it is artificially loaded. So when I first started teaching marketing, I used to say that people that were looking for a brand, it was like they wanted to have this pretty package with a bow and like looking all great, but most importantly, there needed to be substance inside. So I didn't set out to like create a brand. I set out to figure out how the F was I supposed to be showing up in the world now. I've been an entrepreneur for 21 years. And when you're mission driven and heart centered, like your audience, we are an evolving group of people. Like our personal journey, our healing journey, shit happens in our lives. And then we change because, we learn from those things. And so our business evolves too. And that means our marketing and our quote unquote branding and who we want to be working with evolves too. So I have probably evolved and birthed like a new version of myself 4 times in 20 years. I started with consciousmarketing.com and I had a juicy marketing phase, and now I have this GFR brand, but what's the common denominator? It's me. And so I could see the through line, all the way from conscious marketing. I was new and bright eyed, but I knew in my core that I was meeting great people and what I was seeing in their marketing wasn't translating. They did not know how to represent who they were and their passion in their marketing. And I wanted to help them with that. And that actually hasn't changed. And the part that I always really spent time on was helping them to get clarity as to who they most wanted to work with, not a niche, not a target, but just a much deeper sort of soul searching, courage inducing conversation about who do I want to take a stand for. So I still do that now. And I walk my talk. And so I will go back to that. I love these GFR commandments and I'll talk about how they kind of came to be. But that number 3, don't worry about being normal, proper, or polite. I would say start there. And the
Mhm.
confession question that goes with that one that just sort of helps you dig in a little is, where am I not speaking my truth?
Mhm.
So in your marketing, where are you holding back? Where are you watering it down? Where are you not standing firmly on your soapbox?
Mhm.
And that I think, Michelle, is more frustrating for mission-based folks, is that they are feeling like they're holding back and they don't get to do and help people the way they want. So I always coach people just to start there. Like, where are you not speaking your truth in your marketing?
Yeah, that makes amazing sense. And the clarity thing is a huge one. Our audience is looking at starting a podcast. Oftentimes they have a brand already, or they have some programs and services. But then in a podcast, you're speaking more, and you're going to have to speak that truth. There is no hiding after like 150 episodes. Your audience has heard like all of you. So I really love what you're saying. So how did the 12 commandments come about, and like tell us a little bit more about those? Curious.
This is so interesting, Michelle, because this is, the 12 commandments are my, opt-in, lead magnet, whatever,
For
word
marketing
you want,
term. Yeah.
whatever marketing term, but they didn't come to be that way. I didn't set out with put my hat on and be like, okay, I need a lead magnet. How they came about was, I was actually on a plane on the way to a retreat. And the intention at the retreat was for me to really clarify what was my next chapter going to look like. That was the purpose of this retreat. And I had done a lot of work leading up to it. And on the plane, I was just scribbling notes, and I was really kind of, thinking back through my 20 years of mentoring 6 and 7 figure mission-based folks, which we're a breed unto ourselves, right? It's such a personal journey. What were the things that I that I kept helping people with when they were super frustrated, when they felt stuck, when they weren't taking advantage of the investment that they had made that put me in their world, which usually had to do with marketing or sales or, leveraging or groups or high ticket, all these, more marketing words, right? The things that got in their way. What were the things that got in their way? The inner game things, the mindset things, the energetic things. And it was these 12 things. And it was like, oh, like that was my heaven sound. Like, it was like,
a divine download.
A divine download. And I had 12 things. These are the 12 ways that my clients over the last 20 years have been getting in their way. And then I added a question for each of the commandments. I didn't know what they were commandments at the time. I just knew they were 12 things. I added a question for each of the 12 things because I'm a trainer and a coach at my heart. And I'm like, I can't just give people like a command, or a thing. I have to give them a way to check, to inquire and explore, is this the one for them? So that's the example of number 3. Don't worry about being normal, proper, or polite. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had to say to my clients, like, stop worrying about trying to appeal to everybody. Be yourself. Well, what does that even really mean? And then that question, the confession, I like to call them confession questions. Where am I speaking my truth? So that's what the 12 GFR commandments are. And in my show, the GFR show, I asked, so this is kind of a fun thing that maybe your podcasters or future podcasters will like. In my show, I ask each of my guests to pick one that resonates with them, the one that they think would have really helped them along their journey. Because on my show, they're confessing their excruciating struggle that they've been through, sometimes embarrassing, things that they've been through to birth their mission. And so they pick a commandment. And so I use them that way too. So they've been really fun to work with. And I call it the roadmap for getting real. And of course, the more I believe, the more real we are, the more impact that we can make.
That's awesome. I love that. The more impact we can make, the more money we can make, the more people we can help. I just love that. What's your favorite one?
Well, number 3 is definitely up there because I like it. It kind of speaks directly to my marketing roots. But
awesome.
Another one that I say probably daily, any day that I interact with any of my clients, I say this one. And so it's commandment number 5, make yourself your most important client. And the confession question is, if I was my own client, what would I tell myself? And it doesn't stop there though, Michelle. It says, what else would I tell myself, and what else? And this is a profound one. And it's more than just, you teach what you need to learn. It really is, for the mission-based person, it is about them living that mission? Like, where are you incongruent from what you do for other people or vision for other people or, you know, say to other people that you need to up level in your life? So it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that maybe you're not qualified or that you're BS about what you do, but in the up level process, I keep finding mission driven entrepreneurs need to look more closely. Like, if I'm not GFRing, Michelle, I am in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, I could feel it. Like, I start to feel clogged up. My intuition isn't coming through. I'm feeling like a fraud. I'm get insecure. And then when I GFR and I speak my truth, like I just did, I went live in our, we have a community called the GFR Squad where confessions is part of the culture. And we have a monthly call where we take one of those commandments. And 30 minutes, I just GFR'd all over the place. And I just felt better after. And it's cathartic, but I also was like, oh, good. My community, they now see me. And then of course the feedback is just, oh my God, thank you so much. You know, I feel normal now, you know, and that brings confidence. So make yourself your most important client. And then the confession question, if I was my own client, what would I tell myself? So if you are feeling stuck, just maybe say, okay, I just got a new VIP client and that VIP client is me. What would I tell myself?
Oh, that's powerful. Very powerful. I was thinking as you were telling that story too, back to when I first started in podcasting and I was really good at helping other people with their show, helping them get their message out, but I couldn't get mine out. I just couldn't do it. And
we're too close to it. You're not alone.
I felt so ashamed.
I have like 5
so embarrassed.
I know. Yeah.
It's funny. You feel so embarrassed about it because like, I don't have a show yet, but you know, well, what's your show? I'm like, well, I don't have one yet, but I help other people with theirs. Right? And so I remember feeling just like so much better when I finally had a show.
Yes.
It's crazy. Yeah. And that really does take a toll, but and also you're not being transparent to your audience. Like you're not, you know, like you said, you go in. I love how your Facebook group has confessions. Like I think that's neat. Like that's a lot of people just need that space to say what they're going to say. And like you said, it feels so much better afterwards.
We need someplace to let our hair down. I mean, everywhere else, there's like this expectation that we have the perfect
all the answers.
And, we got all the answers, and you know, we're there because we got it all figured out. And in the GFR Squad, we all do not have it figured out.
No,
and that's just really okay.
Yeah. So if any of our podcasters are thinking about starting a podcast, but they're maybe like a little bit unclear of, you know, they've gone through some healing journeys and they've gone through some business things and, you know, they're just not clear yet. And getting that clarity, do you have any suggestions of things that they should, you know, do to get clear?
And would this be to get clear about whether or not to do a podcast? Is that what you're thinking?
I think about around their topic. So I see a lot of potential podcasters come in with an idea for a topic. And the further we get into the podcasting space, there's a little bit of procrastination and a little bit of holding back, not wanting to put it out there. And sometimes it's like what I find the answer usually is that they're not clear enough on their messaging to put out there in the world in a bigger way. So some steps to get clear on your messaging. I think following the 12 commandments, I think would be a great place to start.
Yeah, I think there's 2 of them that come to my mind. So I think I'll go with commandment 6. So GFR commandment 6 says, have faith in yourself and your mission. Which of course is easier said than done, right? And it's there to illuminate when we don't have faith. But the confession question is where I think it might give you clarity and your audience clarity, which is what would I do differently if I had faith in myself and my mission? And what it does is it gives you permission. Like, don't overthink it. Go with, if you actually had faith, let's just say you had faith that whatever topic you came up with, that there are people who need it. Let's just pretend that's actually another commandment. Know that if you have a specific mission or calling, there are people who need it. And that confession question is, if my mission was guaranteed to make money, what would I do? So they're similar but different. So what would I do differently if I had faith in myself and my mission? And if my mission was guaranteed to make money, what would I do? So take a combination of GFR commandment number 9 and GFR commandment number 6, and start with from the inside out. Like that's the thing that always, that I've been saying since my conscious marketing days is don't think about what do they need? What will the market bear? What are people saying now? Like just start first, get clear. What do I want to be talking about? And if I could talk about anything I wanted, what would it be? And just give yourself permission to really fly with that for a while, and don't impose upon yourself the external
the little
things.
Container, right? Like don't fit yourself into that container.
No, I mean, gosh, people for a million years have been asking me, how do I stand on my marketing? And I'm like, be your freaking self. But it's easier said than done because we don't allow ourselves to be our freaking selves.
It's some, and it's, I feel like it's kind of like a scary thing to be yourself, right? Because you're then allowing yourself the judgment of others, or you're allowing yourself to have criticized. And that's something people think about when they're starting a podcast too. Well, what if I have those gremlins online come and say things about me? And any advice as to what you would say to someone who said that to you?
Yes, I would say that don't focus on that, because whatever you focus on, you create. I haven't had that experience, right? So maybe just knowing that with the F word in my podcast does not have that experience. I don't have like haters coming out of the, like once, I think I've gotten 2 emails where someone said, and it wasn't even about my show, it was a call that I was hosting, and they said, well, if you're going to use the F word, I'm sorry, you're going to lose me. And I was like, okay, it was, so I think it's most important for you as an individual, us as individuals, just to be okay. Like, here's like the old adage, like love yourself, right? It's like sounds so woo woo, but it's like especially now with this crazy climate we're in, the external securities, right, are the things that we can't count on, but we can count on. Am I going to love and accept myself? Am I going to love and accept my marketing message, my podcast topic? If I'm going to love and accept myself, then I, start there, do what you need to do to feel stronger internally, and then, put yourself out there. And I can tell you, Michelle, I know what I'm saying is not easy. I have people that I work closely with in my unmentor groups where that is a key part of what they're working on, is just being terrified about putting themselves out there and really looking at why. And so it's not easy. And it's great when we all could just say, I'm terrified of putting myself, that's your confession. I'm terrified of putting myself out there. And even just starting with that and admitting that is going to create a lot of freedom and a lot of clarity.
Yeah. And then the next step, I think, I'm curious to what you would suggest the next step is, so that I would say maybe just get into action. Is that what you would say too?
Yes. And I would say in a like a baby step kind of way, like what is a little action I could take? Like I had a client recently say, oh, I have this great idea. I want to do 365 days of videos. I want to put them on YouTube. She was super inspired, and she got she felt like it was an intuition about it. And then she wrote her scripts and she went to sit down, and it just got all too overwhelming. It was like her monkey mind, right? Got in there. And so I said to her, what could be like a teeny tiny step? And so we came up with her doing a video and just sharing it with like our little pod group that we have, right? Like just in a little safe, little teeny bubble, just doing a video and just sharing it, and then that was a great way to start. So if, just what is the most baby, easy yes, that you could do, I think it kind of greases the skids. It starts momentum.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So overall, the podcast guests that you've had on your show, is there a commonality of the confessions that they come up with and the turning points in their business? Are they kind of like fall into the same sort of categories, or is it a wide variety of things?
I would say between those two choices, I would say it's a wide variety of things, super wide variety of things, from bankruptcy to tons of debt, to being wrongly imprisoned, to, dealing with childhood, trauma, or, being married to a narcissist, or, spouse passing away suddenly, and to contemplating suicide, and like those are the
huge things,
like the deepest part of what they share. And Michelle, what's just so like awe-inspiring to me is listening to the story unfold, how they came to a place of acceptance or love, or even like really bottling it and then using it, to create a business that helps fathers where the wife died suddenly, to helping people get out of debt and have, money, having great relationship with money. It's like they use it now as a credential, which to me is the best freaking credential. So it is a wide variety. And I always say to people, if you feel like you need some motivation because you feel like you're struggling and you're feeling alone, listen to my show, because the stories, it may not be the same story, right?
Yeah.
But it's so incredible that you're like, wow, if they could deal with that, then I could deal with my little thing, or you find things that you really, relate to, or you may even confess some things that you haven't even thought about in years that you can see now, or in your way, or things that you've kept secret, like, one of our guests talked about their kid trying to commit suicide. That could really be something that a parent would not want to share, and she's sharing it, and it's, and then that led to her own healing, and now she helps super women. It's story after story. It really is amazing. So I love telling the stories.
Yeah, I bet you've got some incredible guests. So you guys, I highly recommend going and listening to Lisa's show. It's just so cool. Like just the different stories. I remember a few years ago sitting in audience of a network marketing company. And I remember every leader in the company getting up there, the millionaires getting up there saying, and they had these crazy stories. Like, I'm like, do I have to have lived in a car and been homeless to like make $1 million? And do you find that, when people finally like figure out that message, that usually what their most successful messages in their business usually has come from one of those stories?
For somebody who values vulnerability and being real, yes. And I ask them when they come on my show to really dig deep. I invite them to share something that they have not shared before, which many of them do. So it's going beyond that polished vulnerability, lived in a car down by the river story, to I lived in a car down by the river, and by the way, I was binging and purging a bulimic at the time. One of our most recent episode is called From Bulimic Marine to Digital Marketing Mastery.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right. And so it is about going a bit deeper, and we don't really talk about their expertise. That's not what my show is about. The GFR Squad, which is a really low barrier to entry membership, just a little skin in the game so that you could be real about it. We do have bonus training from all of our, so this is kind of a strategy that y'all could adapt if you want, is that they record a bonus training that is their expertise, and only the people in the squad get those. So it's sort of like an after the show vibe, and we dive deeper. Sometimes I'm a guinea pig, very often. Like I'm like the one that, I'm like, all right, I'll take the quiz.
Coaching. You're getting the coaching.
I'm getting the coaching or the healing or whatever. So it's kind of fun. And so all
That's
those,
great.
are all those trainings are, in our membership Facebook group and all that good stuff.
How long do you spend with the guests after the show?
I ask guests, I'm president. I haven't seen anybody else do this, and I've been on 50 podcasts. I ask them to block off 2 hours on their schedule. First of all, because I don't like to rush, and I want to have fun, and I want to chit chat and connect before we dive in. And so we wind up doing the interview from 40 minutes to an hour, usually, I just feel into it. And then we spend like 15 minutes on the bonus, thinking about what we're going to do for the bonus and then recording the bonus. So usually we come in under 2 hours, but sometimes not. And it's such a beautiful connection that I get to have with the guest. And It's pretty sacred, and it's often very cathartic for them to share their story. I call it the mother of all episodes, is our most recent episode with the bulimic Marine, and he went for 2 hours. I've never told a story like that, but when you hear his stories, he has he checks all the boxes from the 40 episodes before and what he's been through, and he is so amazing. So
wow, I've listened to a few of your other episodes, but I just saw before we jumped on here that George was your last guest.
Yes, George Bryant.
I'm excited to go and listen to that one because I know him now, but I don't know his story. So
yeah,
I
and
would
this
love
is
to.
the only place he's ever told his whole story.
Wow, that's incredible. And that as a host, that is something that not all hosts can achieve, right? Like being able to get people to open up and share things that's not their normal polished story that you hear on every other podcast is a huge deal. And that's really amazing that you've been able to do that. And I love the idea of having that after the scenes kind of training. So is the Pod Squad, you said it's a paid group that goes into afterwards, right?
Yeah, the GFR Squad is a paid group. It's just $20 a month. Or, it's super, low investment, or you can do for the year and save, I think, a few months. But yeah, and this is something for your podcasters. Like I knew that I needed to have a community aspect to what I was doing. Like I felt like if I was going to tell these stories and I was going to hold this GFR mission, that if I wanted people to have a place that they can go to, put a teeny bit of skin in the game to say yes, I want a GFR. I may not be ready to confess, so don't worry. You don't have to come clean about everything, but just being in that culture of where people do that is super healing. And so I wanted to have a community, and it's not a free community. It's and that was important to me too. Just a little skin in the game.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to join it. I think that's such a great,
I would love
a great idea. Now, are you using something like Patreon for that, or because that's a similar model to Patreon, but is that on Patreon or no, separate, having your own platform?
I went through the Patreon possibility and decided to not do that. And so it's a type of Facebook group that's, I forget what it's called, but it's education based. So there actually is a units, a tab called units. And so we actually have training modules in there. Like there's one on the 12 commandments. There's one on all the bonus lessons. There's one where we, also post the shows. So, we've kind of made it work. And I just didn't, in the end, I didn't like the feeling of it being somewhere else that people need to go. Like, people are already in Facebook. And now I'm so glad because I will do Facebook Live in my GFR Squad Facebook group. Sometimes I share things and then I'll share them into the group, and I wouldn't have had that flexibility. So, so that's, and the other nuance of why I didn't, because Patreon, at first I felt like Patreon was a match because it's in my perception of it, people are sort of contributing to the cause kind of thing, and in the end, I felt like the GFR Squad was not about me and my cause. It's about them. And that was like a primary perspective shift that I felt was important.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I feel like, shows that where we are bringing people into our own expertise in our own businesses. I feel like Patreon is not quite the fit. It's like more for, if you're out there with dogs and, helping the dogs at the SPCA, that's, I think that's a really good platform for Patreon. I like how you've turned it into somewhere where people already are too. I think that's an important point, keeping people where they're already socializing, where they're already going to be. And how cool is you can go in live into the Facebook group. They can see all the modules there. Everything is there, and they don't have to leave and go anywhere.
Right. And it is a little bit of a thing to hold fast to it being a paid group because there's so many free groups. So I will say that is a little bit of a challenge. I've made it so that people can search it up, whatever the public, private, whatever the nuances are. And so people then get asked questions and they're told it's a paid group. And so it's caused a little bit of an administrative thing, but I think it's worth it. I think in the end, it's worth it. And you just need to be clear about what the benefits of the community are.
Yeah.
And being, getting to be on a Zoom call with me and the other members each month with the commandments has been such a powerful benefit.
Yeah. And what a great deal. $20 a month. Jeez. You guys hear that? That's a really great, two things. Great idea. Also, how to run people from your podcast to a paid skin in the game a place where they can communicate, right, and have a community. That's what we want to do, is build a community from our show. But I like that it's a paid skin in the game kind of community, because that just makes sure that everyone is there to be their best and give their best, and especially with the type of topic you're talking around too. I think, yeah, great idea. So golden nugget,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. So Lisa, any last things we're going to share with our audience, where to get the 12 commandments from? Because now we're all excited to see what the rest of them are. And where can we find out more about you and download your show?
Sure. So my website is gfr.life. And if you do gfr.life/12C, so 1, 2, and the letter C, you get the commandments. And if you do /squad, you'll get information about how to join the squad. Perfect. And of course, my podcast is in all the podcasting places. And it's, people say, which episode should I start with? Well, there is one called Who the F is Lisa Cherney. So that's kind of a fun one, where I talk about how lazy I am and how I don't have a marketing degree and all of the things that people don't admit. So that's in that episode. And then I say, look at the before, look at the stories and just see which one resonates with you.
I love that one. And the mother of all episodes, the latest one.
Yes.
Would be a good one to go to as well. Right?
For sure.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for spending your time today with us. I've learned so much, and it's just been a great value for our audience. So thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you, Amplify You family, for joining us today, and we'll see you again next week.